Okay, now this will probably be the last video I do on this, I guess in this little block of videos I've done today. Doesn't mean I'll still do some other videos. It's just these are the ones I wanted to get out that will hopefully give more people information. These are like lists of videos and channels and things like that, movies that I definitely recommend watching, or books. Okay, now for you people who don't like to read, let me go ahead. I've got this up. Let me bring it up. Okay, here we go. Let's see. One of the first ones I watched on the subject. Now, it's not gonna talk about keto per se. It's more gonna be about low carb or eating. This movie was made, I guess, in 2009. I think it's called Fathead. It's a really good movie. Let's see, the guy who made it actually ended up, after he interviewed everybody that he interviewed after the movie, he ended up switching to low carb and his to a more of a ketogenic diet, and his family eats ketogenic now. But Fathead, it's a good one to watch. It's a good dip your toe into it, figure it out. It also explains a lot of the politics, I guess, that went along with it. Where I'd first heard of Ansel Keys and George McGovern. I don't think I'd ever heard of them before I seen that movie. Let's see. Another movie I would say is, let's see, Fed Up. Okay, that was a documentary that was done, I think, was it 2013, 2014? I think Katie Couric actually narrated it. And it talks about the things that are going on, with the poor and with the I guess, school systems. But it also just goes into our eating in general. And actually, I thought it was a really good film. It got a lot of interviews from a lot of the knowledgeable people on this subject. The two that stand out most to me are Gary Taubes. Okay, read his books. Okay, Gary Taubes. He's got like 4 or 5 books out on the subject at least. Good Calories, Bad Calories. The Case Against Sugar, The Diet Delusion, and Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It. Now, some of his stuff can be very sciencey. He was a science writer, and someone suggested that if he wanted to look for bad science, to look at the diet industry, and he just pounds you with facts. I mean, with logical arguments, and you just can't refute a lot of what he says. It just makes so much sense. And if you look for Gary Taubes, Gary, and then Taubes is Taubes. Okay, if you type his name in YouTube under the search, you can find a lot of long form videos that anywhere from a half hour to hour and a half, 2 hours. A lot of video that he has done, and I've watched a ton of them. And he goes into great detail talking to crowds about this. Let's see, another person I would look for. Let's see, now he's only written one book. Robert Lustig, Dr. Robert Lustig. I first seen him on 60 Minutes, and he's I believe he's an endocrinologist. I think I want to say a pedio-endocrinologist, a child endocrinologist. I could be wrong about that, but he makes the case that he focused a lot on sugar. In fact, his whole thing is that sugar is not only the thing that makes us fat, but also is what causes cancer. He's even proposed, he's not the only one I've heard say type 3 diabetes. I've heard that term before. But he says type 3 diabetes would be Alzheimer's, okay? Those kind of things. He talks about, metabolic syndrome and TOFI and a few other things. And he's actually done a couple of videos. Let me see if I could, I think what's it called? Let's see, I'm sitting here looking through videos as I'm talking to you. Sugar the Bitter Truth. Is that the name of it? I actually rented it a while back. Let me see if that's what this is. Don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction here. Actually, that's one of his long form videos. Sugar the Bitter Truth is one of his long form videos. So he's got quite a few videos where he's done talks with people, but he actually produced a professional video. I'll be honest, it looks a little more like a infomercial than not. Not that he's trying to sell you on anything, but still, it is informative. If you can get past the infomercial look of it, most of his other stuff that's online, the long form stuff, is things that he looks like he's done in front of a medical community or possibly colleges, and I tend to like those better. I'm not saying I'm like super smart or anything and pick up every word that he says, because he does get rather detailed, but for some reason I still tend to like that kind of form better. Let's see, I pick up enough. There's another one, let's see, called Carb Loaded. Now, this is by a gentleman, I guess, who looks really fit, and it turns out he ended up finding out, even though he looks thin and fit, that he ended up having type 2 diabetes, and he goes through the process of finding out why and what everything's going on, and it's very informative as well. It's called Carb Loaded. You should be able to find that on. I think you should be able to find that on YouTube. No problem. Some of these like Fathead are harder to find. Let's see. There's Sweet Revenge, that sugar film. I've got a whole list of movies here. What I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to put them in the description. But let me go ahead and give you the names of some of the books that you should be reading. I already gave you the Gary Taubes. If it comes to about fasting, if you're curious about that, I'm not recommending you do it or anything, because you still lose weight just fine on everything else. But Jason Fung, that's Jason and then Fung, F-U-N-G. You can find video. He did an hour and 9-minute video and talked about it. He's got a couple of books, The Complete Guide to Fasting that he did with Jimmy Moore, and then The Obesity Code. Jimmy Moore is someone who's been in the low-carb game for a while, and did a book called Keto Clarity. Let's see, I already named Robert Lustig, Lustig. His book is called Fat Chance. Let's see, a few others. Let's see, there's this one doctor I like. I think he's from Sweden. I don't think I'm going to be able to pronounce his name right. Andreas Enfelt. Enfelt, I think, is it's spelled E-N-F-E-L-D-T. Okay, and Andreas is A-N-D-R-E-A-S. Okay. Now you can find plenty of his videos. I think his channel's called the Diet Doctor on YouTube, and there's even a website that I'm not sure that he runs exclusively, but he's got a bunch of doctors as well that are of the mindset about the ketogenic or low carb, high fat diet, and let's see. That you should be able to find online. If you go to any of his videos, it should lead you somewhere to one of these. One of them will lead you to his website, although it is a pay per month site. But there's plenty of free stuff on YouTube. There's most of these doctors have things on YouTube. You could probably find thousands of videos. All kinds of people are doing this. Okay, you'll find all kinds of success stories. I mean, I don't even belong in the top 1,000 probably. It's like there's a lot of people that have done this that have been doing it right. Let's see, is there anybody else there that there's a few other books. I'll throw those in. I'll put them in the description when I put the video up. In fact, I'll try to put all these up, all these books up. I recommend reading them. Now, let's see. Now, as far as other food videos, that's one of the things I really enjoy doing. I like watching YouTube just for diet, for low carb foods. Okay, you can find all kinds of recipes. Now, I'll give you some of my favorite, not recipes, but my favorite YouTubers that I like to go to their channel to look at their watch their food videos. Headbanger's Kitchen. I'm subscribed to him. He's this Indian guy, and obviously he's a headbanger. He's into metal, but he does keto, and he makes a lot of delicious stuff. I've tried quite a few of his recipes. He does, desserts, things like that. Another person, I shouldn't say person, a couple, and they've actually grown quite a bit over the last few months. Keto Connect, okay? Keto Connect. It's a couple, and they do a lot of recipes. In fact, I think they quit their regular job and focus strictly on YouTube, and that's all they do is put out like vlogs and recipes, and a lot of times you can find the items that they use. They'll put it to the side, and you can follow the link to like Amazon or whatever. And they also have the recipe written down on down where you can print it. If you follow the link to their, I don't want to say Instagram. I'm not too familiar with Instagram and all that crap, but they do have a thing where you can go to, and you usually see the recipe. It's got everything written down, which I like because not everybody does that. Let's see who else here. There is someone called Keto Babe Rocks. I think she's Australian, maybe New Zealand. I don't know. She does some pretty good stuff. She got a nice mashed potato recipe. It's not really mashed potatoes. You can use cauliflower and make mock mashed potatoes. You can even use them to make a mock mac and cheese. Okay, so, which is really nice. You do it right, you almost don't miss it. You don't really miss it. Let's see, cooking keto with Kristie. Kristie, Kristie. Cooking keto with Kristie. She has put out a lot of recipes, but she hasn't put out too much. I think she put a video out a week or two ago, but she seems to have slowed down. She put out a cookbook and has not been putting out a lot since. I wouldn't mind having the cookbook, but the thing is so damn expensive. It's like, I'm like, gee whiz. It was pretty expensive. I think I'll wait for the paperback. But she has put out quite a few recipes, and a lot of them are pretty good. She's lost quite a bit of weight. Let's see. Who else do I have here? Now, there's one guy, it's all one word, the Wolf Pit. Wolf is WOLFE, okay, but it's all one word, the Wolf Pit. Now, not every recipe he has is keto, but you'll find enough there. In fact, I probably cannibalized, I say cannibalized, but borrowed part of his recipe to make some of the stuff I do. So sometimes I'll pick and choose stuff I like out of one recipe, and I'll combine it with another if I'm working with something. Let's see, Anna's Kitchen. ANNA''S Kitchen. Pretty easy. Now, she's got a really good, I have to say, really good cream of mushroom recipe that, cream of mushroom soup, which actually works out really well, considering, it's low carb. So works really well for me. I used it in a broccoli casserole last week, and Sue loved it. And then I used the other half of the recipe because I made a double batch and made a shepherd's pie with it. And Sue is still eating on it. She loves it. Okay. Let's see who else here. The Keto King, okay, a.k.a. the Banting boss. I didn't know what the hell Banting was. Evidently, it's South America slang for Atkins. I think they had their own guy, like some mortician or whatever, lost a ton of weight, and his name was Banting, and basically he did low carb. Now, this was a long time ago. I mean, way before Atkins. But that he He's got a.k.a. the Banting boss. If you ever hear the word Banting, you kind of know they're talking low carb. Anyway, the Keto King. And let me tell you what, this dude has some great recipes for buns. Okay, we make, I think, well, Sue always has me make these buns. Now, I don't make them as big as he does unless we're making hamburgers and I'm eating them. But I'll make her some in the last 3 or 4 days. And she's always having me make them all the time. And she enjoys them. She likes to toast them and use them like a bagel or whatever. But they're good on a hamburger, for a hamburger. Let's see. Eric Berg. Dr. Eric Berg, but his channel's just Eric Berg. B-E-R-G. Now this dude pumps out a lot of recipes. Oddly enough, he's not like a physician. He's like a, what is DC? I think isn't it a chiropractor? But somehow he's gotten mixed up in this diet game, in this ketogenic diet thing. And he seems to be quite knowledgeable. He pumps out a lot of videos, and he's let me in on a few things that I didn't. I've learned stuff watching some of his videos I didn't know about, like the gallbladder. I think I mentioned in an earlier video how I wish I hadn't had my gallbladder removed. And, learned why my gallbladder was in the shape that it was, because I wasn't eating enough fat, oddly enough. But anyway, he's got a ton of videos. His channel's great for finding out a bunch of stuff. Is there anybody else here? Let's see, that I'm subscribed to here. There's some people I'm not subscribed to, but I frequently watch their channel. Because sometimes they have recipes, and sometimes it's just simple stuff. Catherine Michelle. She's someone that's got a few recipes. She's got like some low carb stuff. Like I said, sometimes I'll change stuff up. I don't always agree with everything I see as far as what's in somebody's recipe, and so I'll change it up a bit. I'll switch stuff out if I don't think that that's something I should eat. But overall, it's like most of the time things work out. Let's see, Papa G is a new guy. He's been putting out videos lately on recipes. I mean, simple low carb barbecue sauce. Thinking about those he did a recipe for ribs the other day. Looked good. Let's see. I got a lot of Eric Berg here. A lot of Eric Berg recipes. Now, although I have to say, stay away from any tortilla recipes. Not that I'm sure they can't be good, but for whatever reason, I think I'm cursed when it comes to making tortillas, because somehow I always end up flubbing it up somehow. They always turn bad. Don't know why. The one thing I can't do is for some reason making a damn tortilla. I said Papa G already. Today we're making one of his recipes, the low-carb grilled Reuben sandwich with low-carb rye bread recipe. That's something we're going to do today. Now remember, all of these channels are on YouTube, okay? So they're not hard to find. Now here's the old channel. It's an old channel. He doesn't put out much stuff anymore, and a lot of it's more focused on Atkins. I mean, a lot of his stuff just says Atkins, but some of these things can be done for, converted, or can be done for keto. Kent Altena, Kent, KentalTena. Okay, he put out at least over 100 recipes. I mean, stuff like low carb, bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers, things like that. Good stuff. Some of these are really good stuff. Me and Sue have eaten plenty of his recipes. He even did a Danish with cinnamon, cream cheese Danish with cinnamon, and it was pretty good. Low carb. I think that's about it that I can give you offhand. I mean, there's a lot more. There's sometimes I'll just see something and I'll just do it. And of course, there's a few things I've thrown together myself. Like as I shoot from the hip a lot sometimes, like the lasagna. Sue took the lasagna I made a couple days ago to work. And evidently, now maybe they were just blowing smoke up her ass, but she said that people liked it. And instead of you putting noodles, you can't have pasta obviously on keto. But I made noodles out of the same thing I would make the pizza crust with. I don't do pizza crust like there's something called the Fathead pizza crust. Fathead ironically comes from the title of the movie Fathead. The guy that made the movie puts recipes out, I guess, sometimes, and he has a Fathead pizza crust. And while I think it's good, I don't care for it once it's re-warmed up. I got my own that seems to work faster and is less carbs. Not that the carbs are a big deal, because all the carbs in a Fathead crust come from the almond flour. It's just ground almonds. Okay, that's all almond flour is. It's just powdered almonds. But mine, I think I like mine a little better because it's fast and it's relatively easy, and it seems to hold up really well. But that's my personal preference. Everybody's got their own preference. There's even a cauliflower crust that's not too bad. But again, it's one of those things that when you warm it up, I don't think it's so great. Cauliflower definitely has its uses. Great for mock mashed potatoes. Pizza crust. Anyway, I think I should draw this to a close because I've talked a lot about a lot of things. I think I went over quite a few videos. I suggest there's one guy, his channel's not devoted to keto, but he does talk about it. In fact, I've learned a lot by watching his channel, and the channel's called What I've Learned. Okay, and he talks about all kinds of things. He talks about sleep, he talks about fasting, he talks about intermittent fasting, he talks about sugar, and this is somebody who goes into the science of stuff. If you're interested in that kind of thing, he does more sciencey stuff. I think he lives in Japan, but he's American that lives in Japan. Anyway, but he evidently has switched to doing intermittent fasting. He eats one time, or like once a day or something like that, and he I think he eats keto, but and he even talks about some guy. There's this Scottish guy back in the 60s who was super big, super huge. But I'm not going to get into that because that's too much to get into, and I don't want to lead you all down some kooky rabbit hole. of information if I give you too much. Again, I'm going to try to post some of these if I can find the documentaries. Some of these documentaries are online on YouTube. Some of them you can get on YouTube for a price because you can rent them. And then some of them you can watch on, just off the web. I think there's Archive site that has one or two of these things. But I'll see if I can't hunt down everything and put it online for you. So it might take a little time, but hopefully it'll help you out. If you got any questions, I'll try to answer them the best I can. Just leave it in the comments. Okay? Thanks for watching.